Last time on the Empire's Edge.
It goes right up over the wall.
We have time before he's awake again, but we need to take this one out quick.
Lady and gentlemen, I think we may have found our prize.
Somebody's coming up the path.
You see that it is Michael.
Does he look happy to see us?
Oh man, if the leaves are in ᴍɪᴜ Azul, we almost had the leaves. We just walked right past them.
Is that what he just said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the first time we saw
said-
Michael was at ᴍɪᴜ Azul, right?
Right.
Oh my god!
Jacob Treadstone, I grant you perpetual ownership of Roth House. And then he turns to you, Zelen, and he says that in recognition, I grant you what had been one of my many hunting lodges, the lodge at Ogden Vale. And he turns to you, Boris, and he says, I can't imagine you spending much time in Karnkeldli. I think perhaps a mark of favor.
I've been thinking about how you described the Argolian steel as dormant since you said it that way. What I was thinking about was using the ceremony spell as kind of a ritual catalyst for
I was
that.
like, using
you do
ceremony.
I don't know.
No,
That's kind of my. This is what I'm rationalizing.
This is called bargaining
Yeah.
with the DM. Like, I will give you these things I have for this really cool thing that I want.
Right, yeah, I
but
have no
as
idea what this will result in. I don't know if it'll work. I don't know where you're planning it to wake up.
the dragon moves in from the periphery of that bunker, and it's like it's spiraling closer toward all of you until where it's as though you are inside the area of that dragon itself. There is a shaft of light that goes up, and for a moment the ceiling itself looks transparent. It's clear, and you're seeing right through Ark Palace above you. And then everything goes dim and grows quiet, but the hammer still has a holy glow. The glow of the hammer recedes until it's just itself again. There are people that are on the periphery, way out there doing different work, that apparently they stop, turned. You hear some, oh, wow, what's going on over there? So whatever that light was, it wasn't just something that the three of you saw in this place. It definitely impacted the area around it. But you're all staying there still and quiet now.
I'm gonna do a religion check to gauge the hammer and why not the arrows?
I was going to say, are the arrows also slightly glowing, going back to their normal form?
That's total is 17 on a religion check.
Yeah, you definitely know a few things about it. You believe that this hammer functions the same way that a holy avenger would function.
Oh wow!
That it is now a superior religious artifact and weapon.
What about me?
Yeah,
Well, not me. What about the arrows?
yeah, the Argolian, even though they weren't
You are as you were. Your arrows, however.
they weren't imbued with that stone from the throne of Endara the same way, that it's attached to it, but they will, when you use a spell slot, will function with the bless spell.
Oh, no. Okay, so I fire the arrow and
Yeah,
remind
bless it as you fire it.
Yeah,
Oh, cool,
bless as
okay.
you fire it, right.
Now, bless, and can I choose after I've rolled the die, or do I have to do that at the same
I
time?
think you have to do it at the same time.
Darn.
That
Okay,
you're
well,
just
still.
adding a d4 to your attack.
Hey,
We can
something
double
to-
check that to make sure.
Something
Yeah.
to use my spell slots on. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
All right. I like it.
So what are you going to go and hit with the hammer? Because obviously,
Yeah, right.
Everything from now on.
Based on the stats, preferably a fiend or an undead to capitalize on that extra 2d10 radiant.
Yeah. Anyone approaching us since the flash of light?
No, people that saw you down there knew that you went there, and I think they'd wait for you guys to come down from this dragon shrine.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't have any more business here.
No, not in this particular location.
Yeah. I
All
have
right,
very
so-
little business in...
Karnkeldli in general.
Yeah.
Karnkeldli.
Yeah, I guess with that, it is a case where it's about time for you guys to leave the city.
Well, I
Yeah.
did promise Mr. Sage that we would re-bless the Druid Circle here so he could restart it and we could connect it to the Weldon Druid Circle.
Okay, well, let's assume then that everyone's gone back up above ground, that you move through that part of the city, and things do seem as though they're a little more shut down again. That actually go ahead and either narrate how you're going to be talking to the different contacts you have to gather information, or make an investigation roll and see what things you can pick up about just the tenor of the city right now.
16 on either an insight or an investigation.
Okay.
Gotcha. My insight
Because my
investigation...
wisdom's dropped by 1, so I don't have the +3 in it anymore.
And my insight and investigation are rather low, so I'm going to go with my ability to describe what I'm going to do and narrate it rather than
go.
roll a die.
Go for it.
I want to go, and I'm going to, before we leave, hit up the Steel Cloud, using them as my greatest resource, quite obviously, to try and get a few things accomplished, but also make it to where maybe not getting the information right this second, but establishing a network that'll make it a lot easier to get information later and kind of keep that, for lack of a better term, like spy network.
All right, so then who are you going to initiate this? Is this going to be a Carl Woodvane thing when you're back at your house, at the Roth house?
I think...
Your house.
I know. Welcome to my house. Are we... do we want to go to... do we want to go to...
of my street.
do we want to go to Silk and get the items back from him first, or do we want to go back to...
I'd rather retrieve those on departure.
Okay,
I would
so
agree. Let him
then
there.
we'll head straight to Roth House, and I'll be talking to Carl about this.
Okay, about setting that up. So as you're talking to him, I would think that would be just the two of you in the room, and you voice it. Go ahead and say it again. How would you open this up? Because the organization has existed for a long time.
Yeah.
And you're wanting to make what sounds like particular changes to it or modifications.
I'm wanting them to, talking to Carl, like, I want to see if there's a way to have the Steel Cloud step in and fill that void that has been created since the Zrex have been outcast, been found out, and we create maybe some auxiliary network that functions like the Peace Corps that they had set up without being an evil entity outright.
Okay, so make it a persuasion roll. That'd be the best way to start.
Okay. Do I have any sort of additional bonuses? Because
No, just the norms.
Okay. Persuasion. Only a 9.
He does not look convinced with this and says, Jacob,
Zrek infiltrators, stabbed.
I could bring this before Bolt and Larkin Silk and some others that you've not been introduced to yet, but I'm not sure how much they'd want to risk exposing the organization to a network that has less
I wouldn't want this to
oversight.
be, advertising and publishing the name of the Steel Cloud, creating some separate entity that we control, that is, give it another name, that is our way of is the outward face, is the front of the network, without having any trails that lead directly back to us.
Oh, so I understand that. I think that, so if we were just to call this,
I don't know. Golden Arrow.
the Oak
Who knows?
Forest, whatever
Oak
it is,
Forest, yeah.
that there's no known affiliation. All right, that makes more sense then. All right, I'll bring this to them. I think that could have some merit, particularly, and so without you making the roll
Yeah.
before, he says that things are going poorly for the Zrek that are here.
Mhm.
Now we know that there's two levels of Zrek, and the ones that are acting as like reinforcements to the various organizations in the city, that they are being ousted from their positions. Now, the other group, the one that is much more combative, it seems to be their true leadership group, they are settling in. They're trying to entrench themselves, and it could be a very, very difficult fight here.
Those are going to be the harder ones to weed out for sure.
But I do think that taking over those positions, bring that before Baron Fleetwood, this could be the exact time to have something in place that he wouldn't have to worry about threatening his power structure.
Absolutely.
All right, I'll take this to the others, and I'll meet you. Well, I would imagine that you're all departing soon. How much longer are you in the city before you continue whatever your quest and mission is?
I can't speak on behalf of my companions, but I think within the week, if not this weekend.
All right, well then, when you're home again this evening, I'll let you know what I found out.
Thank you.
And he goes off immediately to pursue that.
Yay.
All right, so yeah, we can just play this for a little bit, that you each have different things you want to do or pursue as you're tying up ends in the city, that if we do hold to what Jacob just suggested, that you want to be out by the end of the week-ish or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason. I don't think we want to get pulled into battling the Zrex. They can take care of that part themselves.
They are taking care of that.
Right,
Yes, I'm
exactly.
betting that tightening of martial law is him taking care of the Zrex right now.
Yeah.
And also, we kind of have a delivery to make.
Yeah.
My
your
to-do
overall-
list is really just kind of two things. One is checking up with the ambassador who I am allegedly part of the honor guard for and seeing what his timetable is, because he might have been ready to go like 4 days ago and I've just been messing around in the city. Or he's like, no, we're still in negotiations. It'll be another month and a half.
Okay, so then you're heading up to Ark Palace.
Yeah, that'd be the principal one. Then, depending upon his timetable, seeing the Volkovs and just kind of saying goodbye. before
Okay,
heading
so
out.
then when you're admitted to Ark Palace, and it does sound as though you guys are moving independently of each other as you're doing these things, the city feels very safe right now. There is this undercurrent of tension.
I feel very safe.
You
because
feel very safe, most
few
definitely.
people could try and arrest me again.
That'd be a tough one. But when you get to the palace itself, I would guess you'd go to, I'd have to find his name again myself, but the secretary to
Yeah, the
Baron
the
Fleetwood,
steward, yeah.
and you're asking for, what was his name, Vedran Yanovich, I think?
Sounds right.
That,
Sounds a lot better than anything I would have made up.
Yeah, the one guy, the guy we named like once.
yeah, that on the trip down here to Carnkelly all that time ago. And
7 years.
then
It's
you
like,
are,
in game time. 3 weeks.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, 16 days.
Yeah.
How many months ago was that? But you are escorted through a series of apartments and offices, and then you are taken there. And when you walk in, it's the same guy. He looks as dour as ever, like he was just been like sucking on a lemon or something.
Yeah.
And
We have lemons in this region?
and yeah. And he says, Baron, congratulations. I'm sorry that I couldn't greet you before.
It's quite all right.
Please sit.
And I do.
What do I owe the honor of the visit?
The personal matters I needed to attend to in this city have concluded. As still the commander of your honor guard, I wanted to ascertain your timetable before I arranged my own departure.
I was requested by Baron Fleetwood that I wait upon you, which I thought very odd. But now I see that as political things have moved, why I'd be waiting on you instead of the other way around. I've concluded my work about a week and a half ago, so I'm
Excellent.
ready to depart at any point.
Fantastic. Planned for, say, 3 days from now.
I'll work on that. It shouldn't take that much time to set those up. And he says, and your plans?
None your beeswax.
Yeah.
Are you heading back to Worland? or are
Worland
you
initially,
taking-
and then taking the Worland Road home.
So, leaving this area altogether.
Indeed.
That could be best. I'm not sure what the climate would be like right now. That Roderick Cutler, I think, is very jealous of his power, and ever since the assassination of his father, I don't know how well he'd receive a baron who was also, nominally speaking, one of his knights.
I can imagine it would be a source of tension. So
There's
I
been
think...
so much changing. I think he could anticipate some kind of a coup.
Yeah, very true. Not that I'd want such a thing. I have enough concerns with my own barony.
My lord, people weak in their hold on power only see people trying to take it.
Indeed. Thus, I will make my stay in Worland as brief as I can manage.
Go ahead and roll an insight.
I can see why the Baron sent him. This guy's good.
Natural 20.
Oh, very good.
Not that good.
22.
So it looks as though he's waiting for you to ask him a question, and that it's not come up to this point, that you remember that everything that he came here for was to establish some kind of trade negotiations with Weldon, which you and Jacob and Zelen would have a pretty keen interest in. And you believe he's waiting for you to ask him something about that.
Yeah. Fair. I a little bit completely forgot. I'm a little preoccupied
But a
with...
lot going on. My
Yeah,
plate's been very full.
Yeah, and I, Victor, am currently busy mentally drafting whoever's going to replace Boris.
And I'm wondering though, is he in any way upset because it's obvious that we were the ones that were getting into the trouble the entire time we're here. Everything that's happening wrong with this barony right now is because of us directly.
Yeah, but we also fixed it.
But
It's like
also
we
the
burned
things are
the
doing good
forest
too.
and then
You're right, it
regrow
has been.
But I wonder this guy's like, this is who they sent me with? Really?
You can only imagine that from his point of view, it has been a roller coaster.
Oh, yeah.
That it's been like, oh
Yeah.
no, they did what? Oh, and they oh no, they did what? And
Yeah.
it says nonstop
And they
every
fixed
day.
it? Okay, good.
It's something else. It's something
Does he
else.
have significantly more gray hair than last I saw him?
Does he still have hair?
But I say the coloration looks the same. There's just less of it.
And how have the negotiations gone?
They've gone very well.
Excellent.
And it's one of the first occasions you've seen him smile at all.
Am I creeped out by it?
Yeah.
It's like showing teeth and everything.
That's
Yeah.
right. You're going to do one of the divine senses to see if there's actually an undead in the room right now.
I was genuinely about to ask, how pointy are his teeth?
Side to side, not noticeably. Front to back, probably pretty pointy. But he says it's gone very, very well. that Baron Fleetwood and his negotiators have accepted very low tariffs on both raw materials and trade goods moving
Marvelous.
between Worland proper and Weldon through Arkland. And I suspect he's doing that because he expects to monopolize on trade, a new source of income.
Indeed.
That they'll probably want to sell many finished goods, trade goods, to Weldon in particular, if not to Worland itself, is just growing by leaps and bounds. It's incredible.
Indeed.
So I think that it works out the best for him, but it was a much more in favor of Worland than what I would have anticipated.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear my allies to the south will remain strong.
That is good to know, and he's a little taken aback by that. Like, you had to think about who the others are. Oh, us. Because when you mean the north, because Arkland is a little south of Worland,
Yeah.
a little southwest.
Yeah, but Morscommon is north of
Morscommon is like
everybody.
north of everything. Yeah, as far as up in the Confederation you
north
can go.
of everything except the Arctic Circle.
Yeah. So 3 days. 3 days I'll have things ready, and if it's pushed back a day or 3 after that, just know
I'll send
that
a
my
reminder.
staff will be prepared.
Fantastic. Thank
Okay.
you. And I'll head out to say bye to the Volkovs.
Okay, well, let's switch over to Zell
Yeah.
and we can pursue something that she's doing right now.
Yeah, so I'm going to just go and talk to Mr. Sage, and also that if I can contact her, the woman who we met at the archery contest, who when I recognized Mr. Sage, she said, "Oh, he needs to keep his privacy right now because..."
The old woman that may or may not be murdering Jacob.
The
Yeah.
creepy old lady that's like honestly probably my assassin.
The faceless old woman who secretly lives in your house.
Yeah, her.
To find her, you would have to go back down to Johann Street and to Larkin Silks.
Oh, I was hoping she was connected to Mr. Sage too.
No, the only connection was that they're both Steel Cloud, and so he was watching out for her.
She's probably by the well on Johann Street. Just walk
She
down there.
probably is, yeah, as a matter of fact.
All right, so then I'm just going
She
to go
has
and
a very pointy present for you.
I'm going to go talk to Mr. Sage, and we're just going to talk through how to rededicate the circle and make sure that we know how to connect the circle here with the circle in Weldon. See if he needs any help, like determining who left in the city has druidic powers. And the other thing, I'm assuming it's just going to come up in our conversation, is how the city is changing, like how things are seeming to be kind of tightening up a little bit, where they seem to be tightening up, why. I mean, we're old friends, so we're just going to have a chat.
Well, the most important thing that he communicates to you is that there are more people coming forward that want to pursue this druid-like practice. That apparently word has somehow come out from Shapanov's mission that whatever the religion was that was practiced in these parts 1,000 or 2,000 years ago is more like a druidic practice than it is the Church of Arngol, which neither have been that strong here ever. But we're wondering, this could be a resurgence of the druidic powers, arts, and growth in circles. And then he invites you to leave the city and go out into the Brimroar to find wild holly plants that are suitable of size to transplant and bring back and then replant the circle that's up in Garnsdale Park.
And I'll definitely help him with that. And I'll also check out the keep that I was given, because it could be useful for him. I'm not going to be in it very much, but it could be a useful meeting place for them and for him.
Okay.
And I'm just want to make sure that he's already has it in his head that none of these people who are coming forward that want to be druids are people who are also connected with those wizards.
Or the Zrek.
Or the Zrek, that we want this circle pure. We don't want any of that mess.
I'll do my best to gauge their dedication and their honesty. But if we could, before you depart the city, review different potential applicants, acolytes together, that could be much, much better.
Absolutely.
And just a small point, I think cottage or perhaps lodge would be a better description than keep
Okay.
for the house at Ogden Vale.
Yeah, whatever it's called.
It's a whole castle.
Yeah, it was one of his hunting
So
lodges.
one of the
Okay.
things that I'm going to
It's a
recommend
nice house.
is
It's not a
that
castle.
that the people that, if he isn't 100% sure about the person, that I have detect thoughts ready, and we ask that person if they're comfortable with me using detect thoughts, because if they say no, well, that immediately tells us they're sneaky peekers.
Good way to save
And-
some spell slots.
Okay.
Right. And if they say yes, then I can just double check and make sure I understand what their motives may or
And
may
then
not
arguably
be.
by consenting to the spell, they don't get a saving throw because they're a willing target.
True.
Neener.
Just like, the transmuter asking a knight if, do you want me to make you a sword? And then casting polymorph on him.
So let's go ahead, make a series of insights, and we'll use those as blankets against the some of the people that are right here, just to do this in a much more quick way.
Oh, nice.
Bigs.
Okay.
So,
Bigs.
26, 14, and 16.
So I'm taking those as rolls for the day for a period of 3 days.
Okay.
That you're not just doing this all at once or at the same time. And there are a number of people that even when you get to the point where when they walk in, they sit down and they say, you ask, would you mind if I use this spell? That most people are like, that'd be fine. I would, yeah, they're watching very intently. How does this work? Do your hands move this way? You say these words. But there have been a couple of people, they've said, oh no, I'd rather don't do that. Let's just talk about what it takes to join this circle.
And then we have what in my real world is called a 5-minute meet and greet. Thank you so much for coming in today. I really appreciate your time. We'll get back to you.
Pull the lever and they fall back into the vat of lava.
Yeah. That, and when they're gone, Beckett Reed actually says, I do believe a couple of those were Zrek, that they are looking to either find work, find jobs, probably decent people, but they've burned a lot of their bridges working with that Zrek community.
I wouldn't associate any Zrek as being a decent person.
And at the end of those 3 days, that there are nearly 20 people that are potential candidates. And then when you and here are in a private place again, actually probably planting some of these young hollies up there at Garnsdale Park into the circle, that he says, I am very excited that I'll begin working on initial spell casting.
In the Garnsdale Park or Razia Park?
I actually realized that like last episode or the segment before that, we were talking about the door that went through. I actually said behind... it was like, I think I didn't say the Razia Tower. I said Zalatis Tower. I said that they ran through the wall behind Zalatis Tower. And then I was like, uh-oh. It stuck in the back of my head. But many people they can go through. And he is so encouraged that the whole organization is potentially growing that well.
Excellent.
All right. So back to Jacob, I think. All the people you want to see, say things, do before you go?
Yes, I actually want to go track down Bolt, because... he was someone I was also interested in, those apple tree wisps from Shapanov's mission. I know I talked to Reed, or at least I said that I talked to Reed about telling him that those trees were down there, if that was something he was interested in trying to bring back, that thought-lost variety of apple tree.
Oh, that's a good point. And I probably would have come up with Zell a little bit ago. I'd forgotten about that. That he has, at this point, been down there, being one of the more elite people and a person that has a greater presence and influence in the city, that he has gone down there to Shapanov's mission and has taken various samples of the trees themselves and actually spent the better part of one of the days down there, and does believe that he could bring that variety of tree back to this region.
Oh,
So
cool.
he's very excited about doing just that. And it would probably actually be talking to Tide at some point or another, that when it comes to making arrows out of these, he remarks that it is so strange that these pieces of wood, these wisps that shot up, like suckers they're often referred to too, they should have been dried and not atrophied, but too brittle. But there's still a certain amount of oil in the wood itself that they still retain all the qualities to make arrows out of them.
Almost petrified, kind of?
No, not like petrified. It's almost as though the tree had some other quality to them, or the land they grew in had some other quality, and it's maintained their viability.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you
Less
go.
petrified, more preserved.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, would it make more sense, I guess, to have that conversation with Tide, or I guess because Bolt is the first one that came to my mind as far as just he is the best craftsman that I know of at this point.
Right. So probably either one. Bolt can be a difficult person to find. So
Good point.
that when everything has died down, you haven't seen him as much. Where would you go to look for him, or how would you try to contact him?
It would be Johann Tree. It would be the first one. I bet the person who had the best lead on him would be Silk, asking him where I'd find him. And not trying to make it sound like I got business to attend to, not trying to be secretive, letting Silk know I'm talking about the craft.
I found these, want to talk to him about making them into stuff.
And he might be interested in it too. Silk might, being a bowman himself.
Pass me one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that he looks at them, he says, this is very interesting. No, you hang on to these. I'll probably be able to acquire some that are still down there. I don't want to trim down
Yeah.
your numbers, the dozen you already have. And he gives you a hand sign, something that you have been like practicing, studying,
Yes.
and you know that this would be, in essence, the 12th sign.
Wait, I only learned 11. Have I learned these? I know we talked a
We'll
little bit
assume
about
that you are.
this.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
a series of different signs that the steel cloud used to communicate certain information, and it's either done when they think they're alone, but they're concerned they're being observed, or someone might be observing them, or when the information, even being spoken, could be not recorded in our sense, but magically it could be found out. So he's giving you the symbol that you believe means disband or no contact for a year.
And my kind of understanding of that means Bolt is the one who we're
Right, because that's who you're talking about with
Yeah.
that. With that.
Now that sign, do I know that to mean like did he do something wrong or is he like undercover? Do I get that kind of an understanding from it?
Yes, the tone or the tenor of what he was saying or communicating with hand sign is that he himself has removed himself, that he needs to be gone for a while.
Okay.
Because he's made so much contact with so many people that he's got to maintain a certain anonymity.
Yeah, I went right to he got ousted for some reason.
Yeah.
No, nothing
Well,
like that.
I didn't even get to say goodbye, but that's
Kind of the point.
I know, I bet. Okay, well, in that case, I share the information with him. I let him know exactly where I got him from. Maybe some contact with Beckett Reed would be beneficial around these trees specifically if there's more than just arrows that can be made with them.
I'll see to it. I'll find out about that. But it's an interesting source of material, something that's so ancient from down there in the mission. And who knows what kinds of magics were working. If they were practicing more of a druidic religion on a larger scale, that the wood, the trees, everything might have done something much more impressive, different, or amazing.
And with that, I don't think I actually will go to Tide. Not that I don't trust him, but just bringing this to the Steel Cloud versus also telling everyone about it because of the Baron's what's the term? Boyer? Fletcher
Yeah.
knows about like this stuff too, then it's everyone knows about it. So maybe this is something that the Steel Cloud has a bit of an upper hand, knowing about it first.
And as it is right now, it probably would be because of Beckett Reed being Steel Cloud,
Yeah.
and Larkin Sook being Steel Cloud, and you're probably the only three people that know about it outside of Zelen and Boris at this point.
Yeah, so I won't pursue that with Tide, but I will just take the information, like whatever they can get, and maybe I'll be messing with this when we're on the road and just using them myself to see what I can craft with them.
And I don't know if we mentioned that before, but you could go to Tide. I think you already have them and have the basic tools necessary for, you've been doing it yourself. I forgot. Yeah. So, that's all good. And that would be, make a note then that those particular apple wisp arrows or apple wisps to make arrows is right now a Steel Cloud secret.
I will do.
Ooh, that could be a good way to recognize other Steel Cloud people, but it could also out them.
Yeah.
So, Boris, next thing you wanted to do?
Was seeing the Volkovs before I depart.
So when you go to their residence, and
They're staying at House Alexander, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
So then, are you going to do this completely formally? That you're going to send note requesting a visit, that you want to have what's tantamount to an audience, or are you simply going there and knocking on the door?
I am honestly inclined to do this kind of informally.
Okay.
That I want to approach the Lady Volkov less as a potential political ally and more as future mother-in-law.
Okay.
She's so happy her daughter's now engaged to the Baron
I bet
instead of
she
just the
is, yeah.
second son.
That when you get there and knock on the door yourself, that the person that's answering the door seems a little startled. Go ahead and do an insight.
Yeah, I figured.
He would dare dirty his own knuckles on our door.
15.
Right.
Why is your door dirty?
Or were your knuckles. So when he opens the door, he steps back and he says, my lord, please enter. And doesn't know, you can tell he plain old doesn't know, because you outrank the lady of the house right now, that doesn't know if he should just escort you directly in or send you off to a waiting room because there's been no preparation made for this at all?
I completely just skip that and step into a waiting room.
Okay, yeah. So you go into the same parlor you were led
Yeah.
to before. That when you get there, then he would nod and say, "Thank you, my lord," and he closes the door and goes off into the building. And then it's just a few minutes. She made you wait for a good long time when you were here before, and it's within just a few minutes that you are escorted and announced into her parlor. And then she stands and she says, "My lord Morskman, please come in."
Thank you. I wanted to inform you that I'll be leaving the city soon to return to Worland and then from there home.
I wish I could go to home once more. It could be years before I ever see the north again.
I wish I was returning under happier circumstances.
And she takes your hand and says, "I am so pleased with how things have turned out for you. I'm so sorry for the loss of your father and your brother. But I couldn't imagine that Morskman would be in better hands than yours at this critical time."
You're too kind, my lady.
"And what are then your future plans once you return to Morskman?"
Assuming my role as commander of my forces and then waging the Civil War. Once that's handled, to put it mildly.
"And then my daughter?"
Marriage, of course.
"How soon?"
I'd want as soon as possible, but likely that will be after the war.
Then
we are currently nominally on opposite sides.
Of course. And again, you wouldn't even do an insight on that. She recognizes exactly what side you're on, she's on.
Right, yeah.
And that there's subterfuge going on.
Yeah. That we're both Theocents, but she's part of Hevlaret.
Right. That she is in name on the wrong side of it all.
Mm-hmm.
So the next thing she asks of you would be then once you've returned and the official announcement is made in Morskman, you would be sending an envoy to my barony to initiate these proceedings, or are we waiting for this marriage until this war has reached its conclusion? And then looks very serious. Assuming that is then, if it does not conclude the way you wish it does, that you're still alive and in control of your barony.
Indeed, that is the assumption, and one that seems somewhat presumptive in light of current circumstance.
Then it's a secret envoy.
Indeed. I think that would be best.
Then we shall work out the details of that later.
Excellent.
And then she stands, signifying that even though, in a way, you're in charge, that she's...
Yeah, though by how I've acted, I've given deference.
You're very, very reasonably to her family and to her house.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're escorted from the room.
Mm-hmm. And depart.
Okay.
Head back to Jacob's place.
Yeah. You're always welcome at my house.
Unless I break another statue.
Unless you break any more of my stuff. Yeah, I wonder, would it be worthwhile? It's not something that I would be directly looking into, but just kind of opening it up to, I'm imagining the staff of Rothaus is staying with Rothaus. It's not like now that I'm in charge of it, they're going to be changing around leadership.
Yeah.
Right.
Usually staff is considered part of the house.
Yeah, looking into, I don't remember how we left it with the underground city, if that's something that they might be looking into opening back up again, or at least a thing where with it, since Rothaus has that entrance into it, just kind of like, not telling them directly go and do that, but it's like, if you guys were to do anything that would increase, secret tunnels that lead to steel cloud things and whatnot, I'm not against that, giving them the
go-ahead to do that.
Go ahead if that's something that they want to pursue.
Okay, that would always be Carl Woodvane, of course, when it comes to doing things like that.
I'm talking to the cook.
If you want to go punching holes in the wall, I'm not saying I'm okay with it, but I'm not okay with it.
I'm very unattached to this one in particular.
Well, and at a different point, there are plenty of staff. Actually, most of the staff is not Steel Cloud.
Yeah.
It isn't like the whole thing's a Steel Cloud. It's that he is Steel Cloud. And there might be another one or two that are there. But it isn't like the whole household is a household of Steel Cloud. So
it's a coincidence, not a safe house.
In the back of my head, I kind of knew that, but then also I was thinking that it would just be nice if
it
everyone
hadn't been confirmed.
True.
So fair.
Yeah, it had not been confirmed. That's very true. He likes the idea of opening up an actual underground tunnel again, moving through that area. We don't know what we'll find. And it might be best for us to lay low and not pursue that until we're certain that this Zrek movement has been pushed out of the city.
By all means, only do what you think is safe, but know that it could be beneficial and is perfectly okay with me.
And he, and you could, talk into the night about specifics about what you want to do. But he asks you, I know that your mission with Zelenadar and the Lord Morskaman are your own and secret and not part of Steel Cloud. But as Steel Cloud, it'd be very good for us to know where you're going in order to offer support or even have the opportunity for support, depending on how remote the area is.
Now, that does bring up something that I was interested in looking into. This is David speaking. I wanted to see if there was any spellcaster who I know is directly with Steel Cloud, because I think Jacob, or at least has been somewhat with the Eye of Bravas, is aware of scrying magic in some sense.
Right.
Finding out if there's someone within Steel Cloud
and Azongo's tower.
And Azongo's tower. Yeah, completely forgot.
The giant crystal ball we can walk into.
Yes. Yeah. Is there anyone that I know that would be capable or could be capable of casting that type of magic?
Not locally.
Okay.
And Carl Woodbane is very, very clear about that. That anyone that had that potential was captured by the Razia wizards and tortured and executed. Oh. And it led to...
Or inducted.
It led
it's
to...
A pity to waste a good wizard.
It led to the thinning of our ranks in this region. And that's why we had to play things very, very close to our chest. Are there other Steel Cloud that are in both the Corman Empire and the Confederate Duchies that could? Yes, most definitely. But in this region right now, no. Now, we can work on changing that, but...
Yeah, and I explained to him kind of one of the things I was thinking of is knowing that you want some sort of an anchor of talking with those people. I have no issue whatsoever. I don't know, this is David again, if scrying allows a saving throw or anything like that.
It does.
But but knowing that I have this Steel Cloud emblem with me, find someone who's able to do that sort of magic and use that to... for lack of a better term, keep tabs on me and us as we're moving through the Brimroar. We will be doing what we believe and know to be good work, that I have no problem with you guys knowing where we are, especially if there's a way for you to communicate with me that, hey, if you go 10 miles in this direction, you're going to find this town, and if you look at this particular inn, you might find some friendly people.
Well, see what we're able to do. It might be a case of where the next time you turn to this region, something that is specific to you, if we're able to locate a spellcaster of that ability, that they're aware of something you're carrying. But to try to tell them about it without that firsthand experience to scry it, it might be better the other way. But we'll try to do that. There's a number of things you carry that are unique in the world right now.
That's true.
And that could be enough to identify you in a remote place.
Okay.
All right, anything else that anyone wants to do before you guys are making plans to depart? So this has been over the course of 4 or 5 days. The last part of that Zelen with, we should have said it, with Beckett Reed would have been a, what would the closest thing to a druid's ceremony spell?
I don't know.
She casts, I don't know.
Whatever that is, that's what you'd be casting right now to reaffirm that place and consecrate that ground. But then, if your business is done,
time to wrap up, pack up, and get on out.
Unless anyone came back to me as a follow-up on that whole front for the Steel Cloud, I'm not going to pursue that any further. If they're not ready to talk about it, I'm not going to force it on them.
Yeah, so again, that late night conversation with Carl Woodvane, who, when you guys put on your Steel Cloud hats, so to speak, that he stops being like the chief steward and butler to the house. And you get the idea that when it comes to rank, that he outranks you. Yeah, that the role flips in that. It's an interesting conversation. But that he does say that they are going to wait, and they will try to communicate as this is developing so you can make benefit of that network. Okay. But they're not going to pursue that until the Zreks have been thinned in this region.
Yeah. In that case, Jacob is ready to finally get back to the woods.
Yeah, really. It's been a long
just
time.
Making sure we retrieve all of our gear, including the Eye of Bravas and the Trunk of the Tree.
Yes, going back to Johann Street, getting all the stuff out of Lemon's Secret Zest.
That's a T-shirt there.
I love it so much.
And just before I forget how I am adjusting what I'm attuned to, I am no longer attuned to the circlet of blasting.
Because the hammer.
Well, yeah, my options are getting rid of the ring, that's a fantastic thing to have, or my other ring, that's a fantastic thing to have, or not attuning to the hammer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no.
Who needs the special stuff?
Yeah, the circlet's out because I like having a 20 armor class and I like having 5 additional levels of spells.
Well, and on the one occasion you went to use it, it didn't work as, I think, cracky boomy.
I've used it twice. It was
twice.
okay the second time, and I mostly missed the first time.
Yeah.
The reference you were looking for was Sparky Boom Man.
Sparky Boom.
Speaking of the Ring of Spell Storing,
Yeah.
I am casting a Protection from Evil and Good and 2 Branding Smites
Okay, so let's say it's been
into it.
5 days, perfect. 5 days since the conversation that Jacob had, that Boris had with the ambassador, that Vedran Yanovich, he sends a runner down to Rothhaus, announcing that he's prepared, everything's prepared, and then it's about 2 days later when you guys are all done, and you coordinate it. They have the entourage together, and you are all in procession, ready to leave the city.
Yeah.
Any last communication with Miles Fleetwood from any of you?
More or less whatever salute and farewell he'd be giving before we depart Ark Palace.
Okay,
In
and
our procession.
Yeah, I never felt very close to him. I think we can just.
his parting comment to you, like across these people that are gathered right there, is that he looks forward to the opening of the new treaty negotiations.
As do I.
And you can just see the dollar signs go ching in his eyes.
Yeah, right.
And then Jacob, as you are leaving, as you're turning, riding in that direction, that you note that periodically, in the people that are lining the streets, that there are people that do the esoteric symbol, not actually like a handheld symbol, but the symbol in the air, the hand sign of what is the primary one of your hand signals, and that is identification and recognition, that steel cloud.
Oh, man.
And you do realize that it's like every other street or so, there's a somebody that nobody around them, they make that symbol. And you realize sometimes that there's a husband and wife, they're arm in arm, they're waving to people passing by, the saviors of the city, and she's making a symbol with her other hand, and the guy has no idea she's even doing that. And you get those periodically, just the whole way out of it.
That's awesome.
That already runs pretty deep here in the city that way.
Yeah. For whatever reason, my mind, as soon as you said, and Jacob, I was like, oh, am I going to be making a role that no one else is looking for? The one name that popped back in my head, because I glanced at my sheet and of all the names that I've written down, I thought I was going to notice, of all people, Londar Kabir. Like the person who led us through the underground streets, like sitting there and he's waving at me too. And I'd be like, oh, that's the guy. But like, I don't know why that popped into my head just now.
Go ahead and roll an investigation.
I would love to do that, because if that happens, natural too.
Yeah, so he might come into the story somewhere else.
Okay.
You don't know. It didn't pop up
with
in
a
your
4?
conversation.
No?
Right.
Okay. No.
And then you guys are now exiting Carnkeldley.
Finally.
Where you've lived for whatever, it's been like a month or something in game time.
Yeah,
It's
right. Getting
been
close
a
to,
long
yeah.
time. Yeah,
I'm wondering.
time here.
Yeah, no. We're now leaving Irina Radabaw's city.
That's right. Yeah, you do see just outside the gates, Irina Radabal with her trained bears and her bow over her shoulder.
Standing atop the gate like the Colossus
looking
of
like an
Rhodes.
Amazon. Yeah, and she just gives you
Thanks for
a
letting
wave.
us stay.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, it's fantastic. And
If you try and take over, we'll come back and knock your tower down too.
yeah. And we're on the road.
All right, so
Wow.
yeah,
That
back
was
out
a
of the city.
long, in real life, few months.
Yeah,
right.
that was a long chapter 2 to put it in that context. So, but that was a pretty exciting place too. It does feel good to be out there, and I would think that Zelen and Jacob feel it the most when you're back out among the
For
trees.
sure.
You probably felt it when you guys were out with Beckett Reed digging up those holly plants. You're like, oh, yeah, trees and leaves and
The
things.
feel of the dirt under my fingernails.
Yeah, and now you're like, oh man, the feel of the dirt under my fingernails.
So
At least I'm riding this time.
yeah, that you are traveling northeast, and at probably a fairly slow pace, that no one seems to be in that much of a hurry to be heading up.
Oh, we didn't say it specifically, but we did stop by Larkin Silks. We did pick up all the stuff that we need.
Yeah,
I
you
did
guys
say it specifically.
Okay, you did. Okay.
Yeah,
I
you-
didn't say it specifically.
You
Therefore,
do
it never
have
happened.
you do have both of those.
I've got the Eye of Bravus
big
and the
tier
Trunk of a
items.
Tree.
Yeah.
You got both of them on you?
I do have both of them
Okay.
on me.
And you proceed northeast. It'll take you moving solely 3-4 days, something like that, to head up in that direction. So anything you want to do in that way, we'll assume you're getting the same spells ready and stuff like that.
Hey, before we get too far, let's stop by and see Ogden Vale, because we've got Jacob's house we can stay in. We can stay in my house too.
All right. And that might be why we're taking longer than the 2 days it took to get to Carnkeldley from
Yeah,
Worland.
we're gonna.
Let's go visit Zellen's
Check
house.
it
All right,
out.
What
Get
was
some
it called again?
introductions in.
Yeah, so we could have
Ogden Vale.
You would
Ogden
find
Vale,
out where that is and how to get to it.
Yeah.
And with all of your skills, go ahead and no, you wouldn't even need that. So yeah, you can follow the
Skills
lanes
like
and the roads.
reading a map.
The road.
Right? Yeah, the road. Yeah, I think this is a road. And
It was the Baron's hunting lodge.
I know it can't be that far away. That the
Well, and it can't be that secluded.
yeah, barons don't generally go like wait to the lonely cabin in the middle of the woods somewhere.
Yeah, they're not rangers.
So it is only probably about 40 minutes away, less than an hour to get to the lodge itself. But again, once you're up into the Brimroar proper, because Carnkeldley, as a city is in the Brimroar, it's like just the only paved area of Brimroar that's been done since the Kremlin Protectorate. That it is a lovely area. You're going through coniferous and deciduous forest, rolling hills. There's streams cutting through it. And when you get to the lodge itself, it looks like you could fit every hut in Gryan in this place. It is very, very good size. If you're to put a different look on it, probably somewhere around like between 4,000 or 5,000 square feet in the lodge itself.
Wow.
And looks very much like man cave kind of lodge.
How do the gardens look?
Poorly tended.
All right. Well, so one of the things that I'm going to direct is to find the gardeners and tell them to hire help if they need help, but the gardens need to be kept in much better shape.
Yeah, so the people probably there are all churned up just because they didn't expect you to be here. The appointment had preceded you that there was a new ownership of the house. It's been reacquired, but they've always worked for the Baron, so they always had to keep it in a certain way. But it was very much, you walk into it and it's like Gaston lived there.
Oh, Lord.
That it does have a very man cave kind of flavor to it. So I can imagine you're there for a couple of hours giving direction about pull that down, tear this out, redo that,
Yes.
open some windows,
Yes.
build a window.
Quit using antlers in all of your decorations.
Right, yeah.
Exactly. Oh my
But it is a
heavens.
lovely,
Take out
lovely,
the stuffed bears and all
lovely
that other
place.
stuff.
There's
Well,
enough
it will
op-
be when I'm done with it.
There's enough
right
open
now.
ground too that you could already see making like a circle of hollies and oaks, a lot of land nearby that you could take advantage of.
Is there anybody who I could do? Can you teach people quickly to communicate using the bluebirds? Is
No.
that something I could teach them? Well, I'm just thinking that then they could keep in touch with me, assuming they don't kill the birds. But no, okay,
Well,
never mind.
If the way that they tended the garden is any sort of an indication, I would say
Right.
they'd probably kill
They
the
probably
birds.
have eaten them and stuffed them and put them in their
They're
decor.
not savages.
I don't know.
You take a 5-minute walk outside of Carnkeldley and everyone's feral.
All right. Okay, so so it's moving in the direction that I need it to move into, but this will be a process. I can tell.
It would be, right. But it is good to know where the place is as a touchstone if you guys need, but be, kind of a safe house itself. Yeah,
Yep.
It's a very nice one. All right, then,
On
so
the
you spent
road
the better
again.
part of a day there. Yeah, so it
Yeah.
would take, back out to the main road heading north. So if there's nothing else happening there, yeah.
What random encounters are you rolling? Who is going to mess with us?
Well, that's it.
Bugbears.
I don't
Yeah,
think anybody
right.
would.
Very, very stupid.
I think the
bugbears.
word got out that bugbears just leave you guys alone too.
Yeah.
Or it's the paladin bugbears I was trying to create all those episodes ago.
Yeah, and they're coming to thank you, and then we kill them because they're bugbears.
Wow, racist, bud.
Well, I mean,
So
hey.
at about 4 days from the time you've left the city itself, that you are approaching the very, very familiar land and terrain that leads you up to where the rivers split at Worland.
Hey.
And you are, without any other comment, you are heading into the city itself. You barely recognize it. The last time you were here, there was already so much construction going on that it was like a tent city and timber houses and buildings being built all around the well-established area of Worland. And that's grown by 3 or 4 times. That it is quite the metropolis to get into now.
Relatively speaking.
Relatively speaking. It's nothing to a Cairncaldy, nothing at all. But it is much, much larger than it was before.
Fortifications looking kind of buildings, or like houses and shops and...
There are outer earthworks and beam projections that you could see that they are working on building a palisade out and around the whole thing. And that construction is going on as well. So it is being fortified, the entire town, where the town was not fortified before at all. It was just the castle, like toward the center of it to one side.
Boris, how do you want to go in now that things have changed for you? I mean, for Jacob and I, we're pretty much still the same people, but you're a whole different level.
You want to send a runner ahead to announce you, I'm guessing?
That'd probably be the best. And then additionally, with the ambassador returning as well.
You guys don't have like Tim and all the guys anymore.
I know. What are we gonna do?
But I do have a bunch of knights on horseback.
Yeah, you do.
We did
Your
joke
cavalry.
about taking any of them with us, but I guess we never did. Evans, all right.
All right, so...
I have no idea what I referred to one as. I don't know how many episodes ago.
Paul?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
We got to find a new Tim, though, as soon as we get into Worland.
Then, as you're approaching it, you could imagine that word goes back and forth that there aren't a lot of nightly entourages that travel back and forth on the road right now, and that when you are just reaching the area of what's actually a second palisade that's been built further in, it looked as though the original city, the original expanded city, was having a palisade built around it. And the work on that seems to have stopped, and now they're building this one further out. So if they continue both of them, there'll be a couple of rings to the town itself in these wooden palisades, then the castle in the middle. So it's
very fortified.
Very fortified. If they complete it all right now, you could take a whole cavalry unit just right up to the castle without even stopping at a wall.
But
along the road, it's right there, and you are stopped and challenged, and it says, welcome to the city of Worland. And then somebody behind him says, Worland Ton. And he's like, yeah, whatever. As though they're working on making a name change to the place. And
insight on the whatever?
Go ahead.
Yeah. 9.
No.
Okay.
You probably go, ha, ha, and just laugh. Can't believe the guy actually did that.
Nice.
But the guy stepping out, he's in front of you guys riding up, that he doesn't look in any way happy to see you, greet you, might even know who you are, but is definitely holding to his orders that nobody that looks like of a certain type, like not just carrying, pulling a cart of something, grain in from some other place, that you look like you, and you've been commanded to stop.
I am Boris Kirsonov, Baron of Morskimen, Knight of the Key, and Escort too, and I name whatever the ambassador's name is because I forget.
We got to come up with an easier name for that guy.
So when you turn to him and his look go blink, 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 he goes,
Him.
Yeah,
Vedran
Yanovich.
Boris knows his name.
Yeah, I know.
Victor does not.
I know. So
Vinny.
and
his name doesn't matter anymore. We're giving him back.
he said, welcome. We've been anticipating your arrival. Proceed to the castle with escort. And they don't seem to really respect the fact that the cavalry unit, the small unit that's with you, is their cavalry unit that is escorting you. It's almost as though they themselves are being treated differently. So everybody roll that insight with that note.
Can I do a siegecraft instead, assessing the morale of soldiers?
I think it's more of a construction-y thing. That's more of the physical buildo stuff. So
We made it up, so it's
I
whatever
know.
we want.
We'll keep insight
down now.
for reading their,
I'm just
reading their
arguing a
face.
+8 versus a +2.
I got a 21.
I got less than that.
I'll take a 16 for an 18.
14.
All right, so it actually sounds pretty good all around, that you do believe that they have been waiting very specifically for all of you, and that they are not trusting this cavalry unit that's been with you all this time. That they don't know exactly allegiances there. And and you're
so the ambassador was very right.
Yeah, and you note too that your own cavalry escort is also aware of it. That they're not getting any like highs or waves or good to see you guys. That they're looking at each other like, what do we do? Why is this way? So that escort, the escort for the escort, they look as though they're suspicious about the whole thing. They don't want to even take this assignment, but they do take lead. And then half of their numbers, there's 8 out front and 8 right behind all of you.
Wow.
They take that rear guard position too, and they seem really serious about it as they're holding it, and they keep it at a slow rank, and they're keeping it so your own cavalry couldn't maneuver well, that they couldn't break out unless they go through them. So it's a very defensive position.
Weird.
Yeah. So, but as
Well,
you
they say you can't go home again.
yeah, and home's very different in this case. So.
Yeah.
But then as you get through the town itself, and it does take more time, but again, it's still a fairly small, large town, small city, that the Baron, Roderick Cutler, isn't even in the castle. You can see that he is in a pavilion field area, and it looks like he's doing drills with some knights that are there right now.
Huh.
He's actually himself drilling, or he's observing?
He is actually drilling too.
Huh.
That he's mounted, he's in armor, he's with this guard, and there's a dozen of them. And then a rider, one of the riders of your escort, sprints on ahead, and they're having conversation. And then he and this whole group of knights he's training with all ride back as one unit. And it looks pretty sharp as they come riding back together again.
Yeah, so this has been display of power after display of power.
Yeah, and just back to back to back. And he lifts up the visor in his helmet, and he's all smiles. And he's, welcome back to all of you. I understand that your mission to the south worked very well for you. Vedran Yanovich, you're dismissed. Please, into the castle, and we'll meet in just a few minutes. And as he's saying that, he doesn't even look at Yanovich. He's eyeing the three of you the entire time.
Yeah.
And
Right
says,
back at him.
please dismount your horses.
I think not.
Yeah, no. Is his force postured as a potential threat?
No, you wouldn't gauge that he's about to charge or anything like that. Do an insight on him.
Me
That's
too.
all of you, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm really good at insights.
14?
10.
18.
You see the 14 and the 18, that you believe that he wants to be the last person on the horse. He wants to be in the highest position before anything proceeds from here.
It's just the
Fine.
last person clapping in the audience. That's
Yeah.
all he. Okay,
All right.
I'll dismount.
Yeah.
All right, so then as you do, and of course
Yeah, me
your
too.
guard does, his guard stays mounted, and then he himself dismounts. Like they don't matter in that little display just now. And he comes forward and he greets your hand. He takes your hand first, Zelen, and says,
He's still up on his horse?
No, I said he
Oh,
dismounted.
okay.
He
His
dismounted.
guards didn't.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And he says, my lady Zelen, Adar, if you would reconfirm your fealty to me.
Did I ever confirm my fealty to him?
Well, you were granted
To
by
his
his father an appointment of noble status, so you were, in essence, like one of his
That was that torque you were wearing.
noble people.
Yeah. Let me think about how. Something like to the extent that as our missions overlap, or I mean, because I'm not saying that I'll do whatever he wants. There's no way. I got my own mission, but I'm also
so
not
what
gonna.
do you say then? How do you frame
I
it?
don't know.
Don't worry. Zelen has also been put on the spot here. She looks at him and says, I don't know. Come back to me.
Pass.
Give
As a guest in your home, I will of course respect being a guest in your home.
You recognize that he would probably need more commitment. That you are not a knight. He wouldn't order you into combat, but he wants to know that he can believe and trust you.
Okay, he can want that.
Gonna want in one hand.
And he just simply says, "We shall see." And then he turns to Jacob and says, Lord Treadstone.
I mirror his smile that he's giving me right back at him.
All right, and reconfirm your fealty to me.
What's the right term? Lord?
Yeah,
Baron.
Baron, yeah.
My lord, I intend, so long as the relationship between you and I is the same as myself and your late father, I will serve you the same way I served him.
And that he takes very, very well. That seemed much better than hold, please. And he turns to those that are assembled, which is really just all the cavalry escorts. And he said, I hereby create you the title Lord of Gryan.
Oh,
And he says, and award you 500 acres of the area of Gryan. You are now that town's lord.
all right.
And then he turns to Boris and he says, Boris ᴍᴍ, Baron of ᴍɪᴄΓʲᴍ, reconfirm your fealty to me.
Baron Cutler, you know I cannot, no more so than you would affirm fealty to me.
And he smiles a broad smile.
And I do not.
And with those insights you had before,
It was actually insulting for him to ask.
you know, it is daggers. It is daggers back and forth.
Hammers right back.
But of course, he says, of course. And as you are a baron, you are a knight of the key and always welcome in this barony, my lord Baron of ᴍɪᴄΓʲᴍ. But the knights that are around him, the people are there, that if he snapped his fingers, it'd be combat right now. And with that, Act 2 is almost to its close. Continue to check in weekly as we start Act 3 and the restoration of the trunk and the quest for the leaves of the Adley tree. Send us your questions and ideas on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Empire's Edge. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can do so at subscribestar.com/the-empires-edge. Thanks.